Hi there. Just sitting here admiring your Masters collection. You got an impressive Masters of the Universe collection. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is. But anyway, one of these discussions that I've been asked to do quite a bit, actually, especially in the live streams, is to talk about trying to get a good deal at shows. Because, some people have never been to shows. Some people, they don't go very often. But, of course, you always want to try to get the best price. And interestingly enough, you could have a local toy shop, because I've noticed that a lot of toy shops, they're terrible with this. They're overcharging, they're unrealistic with the prices, they're not willing to negotiate. Catch them at a show, and it's a different story, seriously. And there's a few reasons for that, and I'm going to get into that. First of all, one of the good times to get to the show, there's two best times to be at a show. First is the very beginning, right when they open the door, as soon as you can get in there. Because sometimes these guys make mistakes, or something is priced lower than expected, or you might stumble across a deal. Doesn't always work. The reason being that a lot of dealers will shop each other's tables before the door opens on the first day. That's a very common practice. And you remember a few years ago, we went to, I think it was Kane County, wasn't it? There was a guy there, a dealer we knew that was supposed to have, he had a big lot of carded Masters, and he put it all over his social media, his Instagram, Facebook, and everything. Hey, I've got like 40 carded Masters, and I'm bringing them all in. And when we got there, he had two. And the reason he had two was because another dealer bought them all from him before the doors opened.
Yeah.
And which I kind of frown on that a bit. I mean, I understand he wants to make his money, but you could have sold it. Obviously, it was a good price. Could have sold it for that same price to collectors, someone who actually was going to love the product, instead of another dealer who's just going to mark it up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, ugh, I don't know how I feel about that, because I know they do that. I know they trade or sell inventories, but when you're not a collector and it's all profit to you, I get a little insulted by that, personally. But I digress. Beginning of the show, when the show opens, is a good time to try to pick out deals. Now, while you're doing this, an important thing to do is get your hand on it. You see something and you think it's a good price and you're not sure about it, don't walk away from there. Put your hands on it, because you will turn around and it will be gone. If someone else is thinking the same thing, or they might be looking at it, and then when you touch it and then put it down and they're thinking, oh crap, that guy wants it, let me pick it up. And you could lose out that way. One thing that I do that drives LPH nuts, I am not afraid at all to price check. And I will do it right there with the guy watching me. I'll get the phone out and look through eBay completed auctions real quick to see if it's even on there. Because never let a dealer tell you what something's worth. Basically, they often will have like this jaded idea of how much something should be, or they want to push the envelope a little bit, or they marked it up expecting to haggle. But you should find out for yourself what something is worth. Look at if it shows up in completed auctions, because I've got on my side, and we've done this rarest things in the museum little tour before, and I have items over there that they may not be terribly valuable, but they're extremely rare. They don't come up. You could watch eBay for years and you won't find it. And in those kind of cases, you're going to have to use your best judgment. But if it's something that you can look up, you should look it up. You should look it up. And if you think it's too high, don't be afraid to walk away from it. That's something that's a hard concept for a lot of people to take, and we've talked about that in a previous discussion also. Knowing when to stop, knowing when to put the brakes on with your collecting, or prevent impulse buying. I think that was what we had in the title about impulse buying and toys and action figures. Because you go to the show, and keep in mind that you have to consider when you make purchases at a show, your time, your effort, what did you spend on gas? Is it a show that you had to travel so far that you had to get a hotel room for? Were there meals involved? How much was the show?
My God.
There are guys who go to another state and they spend the night at the hotel. Remember, we talked to a few people at shows like that. They were like, yeah, I got a room here. That's a lot of investment to just go to a show and buy something. And when you're that invested, and you're going to sit there and say to yourself, damn it, I'm going to find something. You make those impulse purchases that you regret later. You might be better off just cutting your losses and not buying anything if you can't find what you're looking for at a good price. So you got to be careful with that. But the overall expense of everything, the cost of getting in, all of that, you got to kind of factor that in with whatever you did purchase. Because if you went to the show and you bought something for $100 and you paid 10 to get in, you paid $110 for it. You know, if you spent $5 in gas, you paid $115. You know, you really do have to think about tying that together. I know she's laughing at me, but she knows I'm right.
I don't know. I think you be digging too deep sometimes.
You got to sometimes. It depends. And some of these bigger shows are expensive.
Yeah, but I mean,
You know?
when you doing all that, you taking the fun out of shopping. Because I know it's sometimes like I'll say, look, don't even come over here. Because he'll take the win out. Soon as the phone come out, I just put the thing back. Because I was going to buy something one time. And I mean, I had the darn credit card out. And he come over there. Oh, you know, you can find that on eBay for $100. And the guy looked at me and I looked at the guy. And I just set it down and walked away.
He was going to burn you for nearly $100. I know the one that you're talking about. And he was going to burn you because when I told you the price, even you were like, whoa, wait a minute. You pick on me, but I know what I'm doing. And that's also how come you got that bat wing as cheap as you did too. You remember and that's that picture that we put up where she's gripping the bat wing and the box is almost as big as she is and she's like, but we got a really great deal on that.
Because I don't really haggle. I don't haggle. I'm not good at that. But it's been a couple of times where he's come over there. Is there anything you could do with this? And I'm like, oh, man, he's going to make me miss this.
But you got a better price.
Yeah,
because
I got a
that
better
guy
price.
knew. And that one guy at the show even told you. And I think it was one of the Batmobiles.
I think so.
And he was like, you know what? No. Because you were like, oh. And he goes, no, you know, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right, and I do have some wiggle room.
Yeah,
So,
and he asked me how much I wanted to spend. And I threw the number out there, and it was low. He was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh,
see?
shoot.
And, you know, that's a couple of other tracks there. You don't want to insult them with a low ball.
Yeah.
You don't want to go too low. You don't want to have a guy that has something out there for $500 and you know it's worth $450 and you offer him $150. And then he's like, you jackass. You know, you're just going to make him mad and he's not going to want to haggle with you.
Yeah.
But it's okay to ask these guys, hey, can we do something with this? Or, you know, do you have any space with this? Or, you know, something like that, just to feel them out. Some of these guys have been watching Pawn Stars, and they think that's the way to do it. I don't like messing with those guys. Well, let's see if we can meet somewhere in the middle. Yeah, all right, dude. You know, those guys, I don't like that approach too much because it feels dishonest, especially with what I know about Pawn Stars and how phony the show is. But a lot of people have picked up on that from that show and from others. We're like, yeah, let's meet somewhere in the middle. And I'm like, yeah, dude, all right.
Yeah.
When you are haggling, also, bundling helps.
Yeah,
Remember,
that is true.
yeah, when you get if you see something you want, put your hand on it, or at the very least, if you got something else you got to do, hey, I'm very, and I did that with that Mattel Shogun Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
I'm real interested in this, but could you sit on it for me for a few minutes while I gotta go find my wife. I gotta do something. I forget what it was, and he was like, yeah, okay. And I came back and I negotiated with him, and he actually went down quite a bit on it. And I
Mm-hmm.
walked out of it with it that day, and that was at that was at not the Joe Fest. Which one?
I don't know.
I forget, but I ended up walking out with it. It's like, hey, can you just put that aside for me for a minute? Are you cool with that? A lot of times they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you have other pieces, if they have a few things you're interested in, you can bring them together and say, I'm interested in this. And I did that at I think it was the Joe Fest. I
Mm-hmm.
get confused because everywhere I go, I see
Sergeant
There you go.
Slaughter.
There you go with your phone. Everywhere I
Yeah.
go, I see Sergeant Slaughter. So I can't, I'm like, where am I? But the last big show that we went to, and the guy had the four large vintage Star Wars figures.
Oh,
Remember?
that was Joe
It
Fest.
was Joe Fest,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking, and I was like, hey, I wanted to ask you when you have a chance here, and there was a woman there that was looking at that C3PO too,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, what are you interested in? I told him, one, two, three, four.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do something with the four of those? And then she was just like, turned around and walked away. She didn't even want to ask about C3PO anymore because I did
Yeah.
that, and I got a really good deal from that guy, and he gave me the doll stands.
Yeah. Threw it in there.
He threw it in there, and his son told him not to. He was like, Dad, we're supposed to get the doll stands back. And he was like, yeah, I know, but you know what? I'm going to let him have them.
Yeah, you spend
Because
that much, you
you
give them the
spend that,
doll stand.
you give him the doll stands. Bundling helps
Mm-hmm.
if they've got other stuff you're
Yeah,
interested in.
don't just say, let me find something to
Yeah,
bundle.
don't
Mm-hmm.
impulse buy to bundle and say, oh, maybe I can sell or trade this later. You
Yeah, you
won't.
won't.
You.
I know that because I got a bunch of stuff that I don't want.
Oh, no.
And I'm trying to talk myself into selling.
Poor dear. Also, cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
Still, even above and beyond PayPal, friends and family. Because I know people will do hey, do you take PayPal? And that first thing that he's going to ask you, friends and family? Because, which, be willing to do that for them. And you can do it on the spot. It's absolute instant. You turn and you show them your transaction on your phone, and it's like, yeah, okay, we're good to go. You can get a good deal with that because friends and family is as good as cash, but actually having the cash on hand is a little better. It's
Mm-hmm.
still king. So do try to bring cash to the shows, or at least be prepared for the PayPal friends and family. Keep in mind, though, that even though just about everybody has PayPal, there are still some people that don't.
Yeah.
There are still some people that don't. Now, the big secret, and this is one that I do often, is that you will find the best deals towards the end. Last day, couple of hours left to go. I'll tell you what, every dealer hates to pack that shit back up. They do not want to put it in a tote again and move it around again and risk damaging it again or losing it or something else happening to it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to keep repacking and unpacking over and over again. If they got something that you're interested in and there's an hour, 2 hours left and the show's closing and they're going driving 500 miles back to wherever they came from, some of these bigger shows, people come from different states to set up. Here in Georgia, we talked to people from Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida.
Somebody from D.C.
Yeah, all over the
Oh my
place.
God, you came all the way from D.C.?
Yeah, they come from all over to try to earn their living, to ply their wares, and it's like, and you sit there and say, hey, I'm looking at this. Can we do something with it? And they're thinking, man, I don't want to pack that up again. I do
Mm-hmm.
not want to, especially if it's something that's fragile.
Or big.
Yeah, a big piece, something that could potentially be broken if they pack it up over and over again. That's when I got that, like that GI Joe Mobile Command Center.
Mm-hmm.
The guy even said it. I was like, I'm looking at this, and what can we do with it? And he was like, yeah. He was like, ooh, I don't want to wrap that up again. He
Mm-hmm.
actually said it, and I swear there was like what, an hour 45 minutes left of the show. It was
Mm-hmm.
close to the end, and he wasn't kidding because that mobile command center is fragile. You lift it up. I have it sitting there with
Mm-hmm.
my Raw Joe stuff. You lift that thing up, things start falling off of it, and it's in fantastic shape. All the wheels will fall off. They're the way that they're constructed. Sometimes things don't fit together very well.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know what? If you're really willing to work, and I said, how about this? And I tacked on the bridge layer, and there was a couple of other pieces. And then he's like, how are you paying? And there it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, I pay cash. And he was like, okay, let me get my book out. And he actually had a book, and a lot of them do, where they've got a baseline
Mm-hmm.
where, all right, what is the lowest I'm willing to go? And they wrote it in their book. And he
Mm-hmm.
looked through it and he was like, yeah, if you're going to take all that stuff and I don't have to deal with it anymore, how about this?
Mm-hmm.
And I got a great price on that stuff.
Another thing is too, because I remember that in a couple of other shows, sometimes it's not packaged, so you got to carry it in your hand. So you walking around by other dealers that sell the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, "Hey, I got some stuff to go with that. Great with that bridge layer or that set. I'll give you a deal on it."
Yeah.
You know, so once they see that you've bought something in that category, they're willing to give you a deal so that they can get rid of some stuff too, even if they didn't really have nothing. But you bought the bridge later, so you might want a helicopter or
Yeah.
something of whatever else goes with that.
Sometimes people will throw stuff out there.
Yeah.
Some shows, and this is a bit that a lot of people are not even aware of. You can catch people walking around. You see this a lot at comic shows, and you
Yeah.
see it at the really big shows like Kane County. There's a lot of that goes on in the parking lot. People that come and they bring stuff to sell because they're kind of desperate, and that's
Mhm.
just the reality of it. They're on their last legs. They don't know how to move or can't sell whatever they got, and this happens a lot at comic shows in particular.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot more of than the toy shows, but they're walking around and they're going dealer to dealer trying to get offers. And I will tell you, nobody is dirtier than a dealer when it comes to buying back your collectibles. It's a sad reality. There's not everybody, because I know a few. And again, I go back to Wax Pack in
Mhm.
Illinois. Aaron was fair. He was fair on buying or trading.
Mhm.
He'll give you a good shake. Or Justice Curry. Hey, I'll give you 50 cents on the dollar. That is way better than any of these guys will do. These guys are straight up pawn shops when it comes to that. You're
Mhm.
lucky to get 10 cents on the dollar, maybe 15 in trades. It's dirty. It
Mhm.
really is. And I understand, they got a big overhead, and that's part of the reason why they're willing to bargain so much at the end of the day also, aside from just packing up. They got their expenses. They drove from wherever. They might have had to get a room. They had to pay for a table at the show, or maybe two or three. I know some shows have a multi-table requirement. I think
Mhm.
Kane County, you have to buy at least two.
Mhm.
Things like that. And it's expensive
Yeah.
for these dealers. A lot of these shows are expensive. So they do have an overhead, but they also know they got you by the coconuts when you're that bad off that you're coming around. Hey, are you interested in these? If you catch someone like that and they got something that you're interested in, don't be ashamed, and you don't have to make a big public display out of it.
Mhm.
Be discreet. Hey, what have you been getting offered for that?
Mhm.
I might be interested in it. And if do the try to do them a fair shake.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You don't have to pay them retail, but if all they've been offered all day is like 10, 15 cents on the dollar and you're offering them half, You see what I mean? It's a lot better, and at least, and I've done that, and it's almost like a relief for some of these people because they're like, thank you, at least I know you want it. You know, it's not like I'm selling it to this guy so that he can get over on me and screw me. At least you actually want it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it home. You know, I'm not a dealer, I'm not trying to resell it. I want this. You know, can you do this for it? How much we offered? And you can find some amazing deals that way and help that guy out, you know. And I don't know, do you have anything else?
I know sometimes we talked about Kane County because we saw it a lot there and it's known. A lot of people set up out of their trunk,
Yeah.
the trunk of their car, and everybody knows that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the officials know that too. But that's a big thing. But I haven't really seen that too much, excuse me, at other shows.
Yeah,
But it might
it's
be
got to
that
be a
one.
massive show. We go to some big shows like the the what is it? Not it's not the Joe Fest, but
Joe Lanta.
the Joe Lanta is a pretty big show. It's 2 floors, but you don't see too much of that. You don't see that really outside
But you
very
do
much.
see that one guy wandering around with that figure
Yeah,
in the box, looking at everybody like, please ask me if I'm selling this. And I've seen people say,
Yeah.
hey, are you interested in whatever they have? And it's always something I'm not interested in, but I've seen those people.
yeah,
Yeah, but also, again, look in the parking lot, too, because sometimes people are in the parking lot out of the trunk of their car and they selling stuff, you know.
and that has become a bigger thing at Kane County too.
Yeah.
But that's usually at much larger shows. But yeah, that's a good place to kind of scout.
Yeah.
Almost like going to a flea market. And part of the problem is that some of those trunk sales are pretty good, and some of them are not, for the same reason that it's getting harder to go to flea markets or yard sales even, or any of those places and find a good deal, because everybody thinks they're a freaking expert now.
Yeah.
They look at eBay, oh, this is selling for this and this is selling for this. They don't go to completed auctions. They don't know anything about it, but they have this illusion or delusion, as the case may be, of what it should sell for. And at the end of the day, they're still stuck with it because nobody's going to pay that. You're looking for a deal. You're looking for a good price. You're not looking to... The only way that you're going to pay something extraordinary is when you know you can't get it. When you know that, all right, man, you know, I haven't seen one of these for sale in 5 years anywhere. I might have to bite the bullet and just suck it up. So where I'm at that stage with a couple of pieces to complete sets that I have, like my product people. I'm missing just Frankenberry. There hasn't been a Frankenberry in the box for sale in like 3 or 4 years on eBay, period. And last time the price was incredible. The monster cereal ones from that line are very expensive because they were the most popular. They were all opened. So the next time it comes up, I may have to bite a big bullet to nail it down, you know, or risk losing it and waiting another 4 or 5 years for one to pop up. So sometimes you just have to suck it up, depending upon how rare or obscure or difficult to find that it is. It's not always easy, but a lot of the other stuff you can negotiate, you can haggle. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to bundle things together. Don't be afraid to look it up and see if there was any that sold recently.
Just be discreet. Don't put the phone up in the person's face.
I don't do that. I'm not like, yo, dude. Yeah. What you trying to pull, man? None of that stuff. You know who I hate when they do that?
Who?
No, it's pop sellers.
Oh,
With
God.
Pop
Yeah, they
price
get on my
guide.
nerves.
Well, according to Pop's price guide, and Pop's price guide isn't even accurate. And it's like,
Yeah.
I could let you have the pop protector for free. It's in it. I should get the damn pop protector for free, regardless of whether or not I got a deal on this or not. Jerk. I don't know what it is with those guys. But anyways, any other tips or tricks that anybody might have in regards to going to these shows and looking for deals, feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. We hope you did. We hope you found that helpful. You know, maybe you're new to going to shows, or you're not that experienced, or like LPH, shy about asking or for a deal or haggling. You know, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to. It's just because what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
They're going to say no.
They're just going to say, I really can't. Okay, fine. You know,
Yeah.
and continue to look around. Don't be afraid to price check, to compare with other sellers there. But remember, if it's something that you're sure you're not going to see anywhere else, lay your hands on it, or ask them to hold on to it for a minute. Because, you know, there's certain things you know it's going to be there in a few different places, so you can kind of look around real quick. When I go to the shows and you see us when we do our films, when we do our tours of the conventions, we circle the room first. You know, walk around and look and just gauge what's there and get an idea. And that gives you an idea who's got what, how much it is. Then you have a baseline for what it's going for at that show. But yeah, please do give it a thumbs up, share it if you can, subscribe if you're new, check out some of the other videos. If you haven't, if you're new to the channel, we do a lot here in the form of pop culture and vintage toys and action figures and vintage television and anything nostalgic that brings you back to when life was a simpler time, before we grew up and everything got weird. And if that's it, any other things to say? Well, then thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.